Perfect. Thank you. So this handsome gentleman is the current president of the American Osteopathic Association. As president-elect, you don't get anything. You don't even get your picture up on the slides that you're presenting, right? But we have Dr. Piccinini, who's a psychiatrist. He's from Michigan, a gentleman and a scholar. And he could not be with us today. He's recently at the IAMR meeting in Dublin, Ireland. In the morning, he'll be in Washington, D.C. But once again, I thank you for the opportunity to be here on his behalf and to represent the AOA. So these are some of the things that we want to make sure, though, that we're all in lockstep at the AOA in terms of the platform and what we're trying to do. And as always, strengthening the communication internally, externally to the public, but particularly to our affiliates, our state societies, and so forth. And in that process, we also want to, we've created some workshops to be nimble in responding to disruptions and things that occur. I'll give you that occur in society, in the world, in the politics of healthcare. And so we want to be receptive to that. We want to be on the front end. We don't want to always be reactionary. I'll give you a quick example. Some folks don't know, and we're not necessarily publicizing it, but in the full transparency, in Washington, D.C., when two young people who worked for the Israeli consulate were killed, the person that pulled the trigger actually worked for the AOIA. That's that's the business arm of the AOA. A lot of people don't know that. And he had worked for us for less than 2 months. FBI worked with us to say, is there any warning signs, any red flags? No, not at all. Is there any culpability? Of course not. That person was in Washington doing AOA work, right? So we have to have some responsibility in that. We're addressing the ideas of hate, addressing the ideas of anti-Semitism, and so forth, right? And so this is part and parcel to being responsive. And I would say this to any medical association, any group, is what is your association? How do you handle any negativity that may happen, or any disruption, or a sudden change in leadership? Do you have that in place for yourselves? And so certainly we're addressing that, but also keeping in mind the legacy of what the AOA is, and the members, and the folks that are developing our legacy, supporting that future. And then also, as you can imagine, Dr. Piccinini, being a psychiatrist, prioritizing mental health. But there's more to that than just saying, hey, we care about health and wellness and mental health in particular. Yes, of course. But we all know, as leaders in our profession, in leaders in our group, our hospital, this association, is that we don't want to bias against someone with mental health issues. We want to help these folks. These are our colleagues, whether they're student, resident, or in practice. And we also know that there is this under the radar kind of thing. I don't want to let someone know that I'm struggling. That's going to affect my career. And so we want to change that. We want to change those ideals and how we approach. We want to be able to help folks. We don't want this to be a stigma. We wouldn't want to stigmatize our patients, right? So let's see if that'll go forward. There we go. So in keeping with communication, Dr. Piccinini has started something that is doing online, utilizing social media, trying to go into that space where people are nowadays, but particularly the younger folks that we're trying to attract to the AOA, but attract into this group as well, and others, and into our state association. So doing things on social media, even something called Cooking with Bob. You can look that up and go Facebook and Instagram, and just look up Cooking with Bob, and it's actually quite entertaining. It's been very well received thus far. I think he had like 35,000 visitors within the first week. It was pretty amazing for that. So let's talk about that bright future for our postdoctoral trainees. All-time high in match for osteopathic graduates, seniors. And so 99 to 100%, okay, but over 99% are matching. Anesthesiology positions, 17% of them were DO graduates. That's an all-time high. And it's up. Anesthesiology's up. Child neurology, pediatrics, even to a lesser degree, orthopedics. This just gives you some raw numbers there, but 308 DOs that matched. Now, you also see international medical graduates, okay? They're in there too. They serve a role in healthcare now, but we want to make sure that the DOs are getting their fair share and that they're getting the proper representation that they earned and have deserved. And that's a big part of where the AOA is. All right, so are we in demand? Of course, internal medicine remains the number one. Now, that's primary care. It's listed as going into primary care, but we also know that many of these students will become hospitalists. They'll go on to fellowships and that sort of thing. But still, internal medicine, high demand, high interest of our students. It hasn't changed. My college is no different with family medicine. Emergency medicine remains strong. People are able to manage their time and their effort. And when they leave, they're off. You know, don't have to worry about being on call per se. But pediatrics is coming back a little bit. Psychiatry is making a big surge. A lot, especially if my college is any kind of bellwether. It's definitely increased dramatically the interest there. So, but if you take all of the DOs in practice and all of the students in school, almost 200,000 of us now. And this is the AOA represents every one of those. Whether you're a member, whether you pay dues or not, we're representing all of the osteopathic medicine and that full house of osteopathically minded and trained folks. So and that gives you a little breakdown. But where's all the growth? Tremendous growth in schools, right? But it's our job to manage growth, and that's something when it's my turn as president of the AOA, there's going to be a lot more in the coming months, and next year we're going to emphasize that because I'm inherently involved in education of osteopathic students. So, but 28% of students in medical school are in DO programs, 28%, and next year it'll be higher still. All right, and then so this just gives you all those dots and areas and where we're spread out, and obviously we're well represented in more rural and underserved areas. And here's some prominent folks. You know these folks here, and Dr. Landman, we wanted to give a shout out to her. I forget where, here she is. She didn't leave the stage, very good. Dr. Deppa was one of the, I like to say, I know osteopathic anesthesiologists. I'm even friends with some of them, but I met Dr. Deppa a number of years ago, early on in my AOA board career, and I just want to give a little shout out. One of the things that we didn't mention is I'm also treasurer for OPAC. That's our National Political Action Committee, and this center photo is just us outside of our offices in Washington, D.C., not far from the Hart Building, which is one of the Senate buildings. But what is the number one thing that members want from the AOA and to a large degree other specialty organizations? It's advocacy. Representing them in on what level at any time to anyone is how do you advocate for me? That's their number one desire and their draw. So emphasize that as you're recruiting your members and providing services to them. What's some things that the AOA is doing for anesthesia in particular? One thing, we weren't successful, but by gosh, we didn't go without a fight, and that was with the Minnesota VA, in particular Minneapolis VA Medical Center, where they wanted to change the bylaws, and they wanted a CRNA only model of anesthesia practice. And unfortunately, despite all our efforts, their board did approve that. And this Minneapolis, they're doing transplants and level 1 trauma center and everything, but they chose to go that way. But we certainly did our best with that. And there's obviously a number of other issues. I don't want to, in full transparency, we can't win them all, but we're gonna represent at every opportunity we can. O&T, this is particularly important to this profession. This is what we're distinctive is whether you do hands-on manipulative therapy, or treatment, that's okay, all right. But are you thinking osteopathically? Were you trained as an osteopathic physician? Of course you were. And we want to maintain that distinctiveness in whatever areas we can. So to that end also, the AOA, we're very much behind our Bureau of Osteopathic Specialists and our certifying board specialties or services. And so it takes money to run these aspects of our profession, and the AOAs have put over $2 million invested in this and investing over the next 3 years, bringing in more talent in terms of organizational skills, hiring additional folks, trying to streamline that process and make this a value-added aspect for everyone, not just for osteopathic certification anesthesia, but in all these specialties. We're going to hear more later from AOBA, so I'll just gloss through that very quickly and just say this is myself, Dr. Piccinini, and our CEO, Kathleen Creason. And I just wanted to once again say thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. This is an extremely well-run conference with enthusiastic leaders. And my wife, Sherry, is here with me, and everyone was very welcoming at the conclave and reception last night. And I greatly appreciate your hospitality. So thank you. And I understand. I'll take a seat up here. We'll have time for questions at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Thacker. Next